Hey friends, I'm Kennedy Goode. I am a facilitator with SMNP Reviews. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So today I'm going to walk you through a day in the life of an aesthetic NP. I get lots of questions about this. Do I like it? How do I get into it? So I hope that if you're thinking about going into this field or if you're just curious, that this gives you some insight on what life looks like as an aesthetic NP. So how I got started in aesthetics. So funny story, I was hanging out with a group of friends and one of the girls was a nurse practitioner and she was an injector and she had just mentioned that she was eventually going to be looking for a registered nurse to help her with the paperwork side of things, help her with the medical grade skincare aspect. And at that time, I was in NP school. And so I had just mentioned to her that this was actually a field that I wanted to get into. And I was super interested in helping her. And she, took my name and phone number, and a few months later, she decided that she was ready to bring on a nurse, and she called me, and so I started working with her. Eventually, after I finished NP school, that was kind of my foot in the door to start injecting. The company she worked for hired me on as an injector, as a nurse practitioner, and so that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. So always conversate with the people that you're around. You never know where those opportunities are going to lead to, and just mentioning what your future goals are, might help you get to those future goals. Marketing yourself. So I talk a lot about marketing yourself. So reaching out to dermatologist offices, reaching out to plastic surgery offices, med spas. So really just introducing yourself, telling them who you are, why you want to shadow, why you want to be considered for the job. You definitely want to market yourself all the time, whether that's through email, sliding into their DMs, on social media, through LinkedIn. Those are all great places to market yourself. And then follow up. So even if someone says no, follow up in 3 months or 6 months. There have been many times when people have asked to shadow me and it just hasn't been the right time, or we're in a busy season, or I just can't have someone shadow me at the time because someone else is. And if they follow up with me in 3 to 6 months and ask again, that tells me that they're determined, that this is something that they really want to do. And so I always tell people to follow up because it makes you look good and it really shows them how eager you are to learn. So what exactly do I treat? So we have the cosmetic side and the medical side. So cosmetic, neuromodulators or Botox as we know it, and then hyaluronic acid, which are those fillers. And then medical side, we use those neuromodulators for a lot of things. So treating migraines, treating hyperhidrosis, treating TMJ of the jaw. And so there's a lot of different things. People often always think of the cosmetic side, and that is the aesthetics, but there is a medical side to this as well. So who do I work with on a daily basis? So I have my collaborating MD. I live in the state of South Carolina, so I have to have my collaborating MD. He does not have to be in the office with me. He just has to be available. In the office, I have nurses, physician's assistants, other nurse practitioners, estheticians. I do not supervise estheticians. They are their own entity. However, in the state of South Carolina, nurses can inject, but I have to be in the same building with them as a nurse practitioner. I can't be in the next building. I have to be right there with them to supervise them. But this truly varies state by state. And so always check with your state board of nursing because, it's crazy how much it varies. One state will be totally, you can do whatever you want. The next state will be very, very strict and almost to the point where you can't inject at all. So always check with your board of nursing for their rules and regulations. What does a typical day look like for me? So I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. This can vary among practices. Some med spas, plastic surgery offices are open on Saturdays because these are when their patients want these aesthetic treatments. But Monday through Friday is what works for me. 15-minute to 60-minute appointments. It depends on the treatment. It depends on the patient. If I know a patient's needle phobic, I will schedule them out a little bit longer because I know that appointment's going to take a little bit longer. There's also just some treatments that take longer. You have to let them numb, things like that. The good thing is we don't do insurance, and so I don't have to worry about, charting and billing insurance, and so that is good as well. Flexibility. So the good thing about my schedule is if I want to stay a little bit later, I can. If I want to come in earlier, I can. This field is very flexible. So what I love about my job, so like we were just talking about flexibility and scheduling, flexibility, with patients and what treatments I want to provide, building patients' confidence. This is near and dear to my heart. This is the best thing about aesthetics is when someone comes in, they get a treatment, they look in the mirror, and they're almost in tears because they're just so happy. You're boosting up their confidence, you're making them feel beautiful, and so it's definitely something that I absolutely love about my job. And then a fun environment. So I always say you have to love the people you work with. You are with them more than you are with the people at home. So you have to like the people you work with. And so it's a fun environment. It's, we're always laughing and we become friends with our patients. And so it's really nice to be able to build that rapport. Also, the patients are always in a happy mood. They want to be there. They want to see you. And so that is definitely a positive. I'll never say what I hate about my job because I don't hate my job. It's just the hard side of my job. So, liability and risk. So, oftentimes I have people say, oh, what a wonderful stress-free job. It's actually the opposite. So, liability and risk, your malpractice insurance actually doubles, if not triples, when you add on aesthetic procedures. And that is because of the risk. So, there's the risk with neuromodulators, and then hyaluronic acid, the fillers. There's actually the biggest risk of vascular occlusion, which can, cut off blood supply or lead to blindness. And so that is why it's so expensive, as well as you're basically always on call. If I see a patient at 3 p.m., 8 hours later, they think they're having a complication, they're going to call me because a complication can happen 8 hours later, and that needs to be addressed immediately, whether I meet them at the office or the hospital. And so that liability and risk is definitely one of the harder parts of my job. Patient outcomes. So 9 times out of 10, patients are going to be happy to see you, but, we as injectors, patient outcomes, patients aren't always happy. And so that is just something that is harder, but I will say that the 9 out of 10 people who are happy, that definitely outweighs that hard part of the patient outcomes. And then keeping up with other skills. So as injectors, sure, we are great at anatomy, but we also have to be aware of hypertension, diabetes, COPD, autoimmune conditions. And so taking the time out of your day to attend, conferences or webinars to stay up to date on this information, because we don't think about it, but those things can actually affect whether a person is a candidate for injections or how they're going to respond to treatment. And so, that's out of your own time. So just keeping up with those other skills, and you can do that, like I said, through conferences or, I work for SMNP reviews, so I'm constantly staying up to date on that evidence-based practice. So how can you become an aesthetic nurse practitioner? So make sure you are networking, reaching out to local offices, taking opportunities. I always say be a yes man, yes woman. Take every opportunity that's presented. You never know where it's going to lead to. Just like in the beginning when I told you, I just signed up to help her with paperwork and medical grade skincare, and now I'm full-time injecting. So you just never know. Reach out and then reach out again. So like I said, you always want to follow up even if they say no, just because you never know the time of season that they're in, and it may have just not been a good time. So definitely reach out, show them that you're eager, that you're determined, that you want to do this. And then follow other aesthetic advanced practitioners and dermatologists on social media. So oftentimes, I feel like this is a missed kind of area where people could become an aesthetic NP. And the reason being is I always see, hey, this person is looking for an injector in this state, will train. And so you definitely want to take up those opportunities. And then as well as just following their techniques on social media. And a lot of the people I follow do share, if they have a complication, what could have gone better. And so I think it's definitely an important part of this field to follow those other practitioners and see how they're practicing and how they are succeeding and what you can learn from them. And then always apply for the job. That's my number one takeaway, is always apply for the job, because many people reach out to me and say, hey, Kennedy, I'd love to get in this field, but they, all these places say that they require experience. I say still apply. You never know what can happen. I will say in the area that I live in South Carolina, we are not saturated with aesthetic nurse practitioners. So 9 times out of 10, we are willing to train, even if it says experience required. So always, always, always apply for the job. You never know where it's going to take you. So finally, I just want to say I am here for questions. If you are in either of the Facebook groups, you can always, ask any questions about aesthetics. That is what I'm here for. I'm more than happy to share my knowledge and wisdom. And, this has been a great field to me. And I hope if you want to go in this field that this was helpful. I think people can thrive in this. I think it has a good work-life balance. I just like to make note that there is some stress to the job, but 9 times out of 10, it's fun. So have a good day, and let me know if you have any questions. See you later.